Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is Luminous, and this is a guide on Bane. Bane is a ranged intelligence hero that excels in single target disruption and has the ability to single-handedly disable half the enemy team. However, because all of Bane's spells are single targeted, he is weak in both counter pushing and pushing, and offers very little crowd control. His weak health pool, mana pool, short cast range, and long casting animation makes Bane one of the most difficult heroes to play well. Playing around the limitation of his spells and understanding the priority of the enemy targets is essential to playing a successful Bane. Enfeeble is a single target spell that reduces an enemy's physical damage. By far the most important strength of Enfeeble's is its 1000 cast range, which allows Bane to drop Enfeeble in relatively safe positions. The low 10-second cooldown and 20-second duration of Enfeeble will also allow Bane to shut down multiple physical carries in the late game. Unlike most other disables, Enfeeble won't be debuffed by activation of Blacking Bar or Manta Style, making it one of the best spells against pure DPS heroes in the late game. Even in early game, if Bane has a mana supported, Enfeeble could literally drop an enemy's damage down to 0, completely obliterating any lasting power in lane. Enfeeble is one of the best annoying spells throughout the game, and its effectiveness against enemy carries should not be underestimated. Brainstab is Bane's bread and butter single target nuke that deals 300 pure damage. Brainstab will heal Bane 300 HP at max level no matter how low the enemy's target health is, making a decent nuke and a heal spell to use against both heroes and creeps. Despite the relatively low 14-second cooldown, Brainstab does have an extremely high mana cost of 200, and combined with high mana cost of his other spells, Bane will have issues casting multiple Brainstabs in a single team fight. Don't get too greedy and try and maximize the HP granted by Brainstab. Instead, treat the heal as an extra benefit to the high pure damage nuke. Nightmare is one of the most difficult spells to use properly. It puts a single target in a pseudo stun state and removes the target's HP for the duration of the stun. Simply as a stun, Nightmare is one of the longest disable in the entire game, getting a 4-second pseudo stun right from level 1. Nightmare is considered as a pseudo stun because the target can be woken up by taking damage from spells or being targeted by another hero. Since targeting the Nightmare hero could wake the target up, keep in mind that smart enemies will have the option to rescue their allies from Bane's disables. Similarly, Bane could put his allies or even himself in Nightmare to take advantage of the 1-second invulnerability granted by Nightmare. Since Bane can wake himself up from Nightmare anytime he wishes, he could use Nightmare to help allies or himself in order to dodge many spells or attacks. Lastly, since Nightmare would remove HP from allies or enemies alike, keep in mind that it's a way to deny allies or Bane from enemy kills. All the mechanic nuances aside, Nightmare also has a high mana cost, further stretching Bane's already small mana pool. Nightmare is a very innocuous disable in first glance, but the utility that it grants for the team is immense. Fiend's Grip is a channeling spell that deals damage, drains mana, and stun for each second that it holds an enemy unit. The most important part about Fiend's Grip to remember is that it will go through magical immunity, making it one of the best ways to deal with carries with Blacking Bar in the late game. Although the damage of Fiend's Grip will be nullified by magical immunity, the stun and the mana drain composition of the grip will still work. Don't underestimate the damage potential of a fully channeled Fiend's Grip, as it will do over 1000 damage at max level, and is further upgradable with Aghanim Scepter, increasing Fiend's Grip's damage, mana drain, and channeling duration. Again, the mana cost of Fiend's Grip is fairly expensive, especially in the higher levels of the spell, though the mana drain component of Fiend's Grip should help Bane to cast more spell afterwards. The ultimate single target disable, Fiend's Grip is a powerful spell to set up kills on enemy carries. With these points in mind, a suggested skill build for Bane is: there's very little debate in maxing Brainstab first, as it's Bane's most powerful and reliable nuke. The healing that Brainstab provides in the early game could turn around a small engagement entirely. Nightmare is taken at level 1 as it provides a potential 4-second disable, which is an extremely useful tool especially in tri-lane setups. What becomes difficult is choosing what other spells to take after level 7. Assuming that Bane is played mostly as a support, where he'll lack the gold to buy lots of mana regeneration items, Bane will run into serious mana issues. Thus stat points will be preferred over more points into Nightmare or Enfeeble, providing that extra health and mana that Bane desperately needs. The decision to take further points of Nightmare and Enfeeble depends on two factors. Firstly, if the enemy composition is comprised of many physical carries, both Nightmare and Enfeeble increase in value for the team. Secondly, if Bane has the goal to pick up some decent mana regeneration items, the necessity of stat points is also lessened. Keep in mind that Nightmare scaling is fairly lackluster, and each point only increases the stun duration by 1, as well as the cast range by 50. Similarly, Enfeeble is only great when it's nearly max, so it's better to focus on one of the two spells instead of putting points into both of them at the same time. When playing a farming or solo mid Bane, Where both level and gold is more plentiful, consider the following build. In mid's 1v1 matchup, being able to take away 60 damage from an enemy hero means the enemy is sitting close to 0 damage. Starting from level 3, a level 2 Enfeeble will allow Bane to utterly dominate most other solos, should Bane have the mana to support the spam. Similar to the support build, Brainstab will be the first spell to max for its damage and healing utilities, and deciding to whether to prioritize Nightmare or Enfeeble is dependent on the enemy composition. More physical carries give Enfeeble more of a nod, whereas Nightmare is generally decent against all different lineup. In the early game, Bane's offensive firepower is fairly lackluster. Though Brainstab's a very respectable nuke, this mana pool doesn't allow Bane to spam the spell. Likewise, though Nightmare's a powerful setup, it doesn't do much damage on its own. As such, Bane is only dangerous in the early game if he's paired with another potent nuker or disabler. A large goal of Bane's early game is also to get to level 6 quick, so when possible consider doing pulls or stack pulls to get ahead in terms of experience. Be extremely careful in controlling the creep equilibrium in these pulls, as Bane offers 0 pushing capability in the early game, and if pull is messed up, enemy offlane heroes could get a lot of levels as your creep wave is killed under the enemy tower. Level 6 is an important turning point for Bane, as Fiend's Grip almost always guarantees a kill, even against heroes with grave survival spells such as Blink or Leap. Generally, Bane will hit level 6 during the first Nightfall, and in combination with the Smoke of Deceit, he and an ally could easily set up ganks and kills. As a ganker, Bane has enough disable and survival power through Brainstab to take on 1 or 2 extra enemies at once, but even so, be careful of counter TPs that enemy supports are likely to have at this stage of the game. Similarly, Bane is one of the best counter gankers in the entire game, as his Nightmare functions both as a way to save allies or trap enemies under tower, so be sure to carry TPs at all time. Next to Fiend's Group's 100 second cooldown, Bane's mana pool is the largest limiting factor in his ganks. During the downtime between ganks, it's important to keep his mana pool high through getting clarities from the chicken, as well as to stay out of enemies' sight. Doing more pools or stacking Ancients is the way to increase the overall gold and experience gain for Bane or his allies. During ganks, make sure Bane has enough mana to cast the necessary spells, and always be available to aid teammates with the teleport scroll. Bane's role in the fight is to disable and disrupt as many targets as possible. In order to accomplish this goal, good positioning and understanding of the range of his spells as well as his cast animation is a must. Like most other utility supports, staying in the back line is the most ideal position for Bane. Since Fiend's Grip's are challenging spells, staying back until the first wave of stuns has been used by the enemy is a good idea, as a fully channeled Fiend's Grip almost always means a dead hero. Don't forget about Nightmare's defensive potential either. Keep in mind that Nightmare grants the target 1 second of invulnerability upon casting, and disrupting the enemy focus by putting teammates or Bane himself in sleep could win a team fight on his own. In between cancelling Nightmare on himself, or redirecting Nightmare from an ally after casting it defensively on them, Bane has a ton of tricks that could be done in a split second to redirect aggro from enemies. Good Nightmare control separate good Bane players from true Bane masters. Lastly, understanding priority is an important part of playing good Dota, but this is especially true for playing a good Bane. Priority refers to what hero matters the most in a teamfight, and what order does Bane need to disable the enemy in. Since Bane has multiple disables, deciding which of the 5 enemy heroes to target in any given situation takes a great deal of experience. Generally, targeting the high impact AoE heroes with Nightmare and carries with Enfeeble is a good start, meanwhile reserving Fiend's Grip for targets that need to be focused and killed quickly. Also take into account of Bane's casting animation and the range of his spells. Enfeeble generally is cast first thanks to its 1000 cast range, then Nightmare, and then Fiend's Grip to follow. Proper spell slinging with Bane takes several games to master, so be sure to practice a lot. Mentioned multiple times so far, mana is an issue for Bane for a good part of the game, so there will be a large emphasis on getting mana based items. HP and utility based items are of secondary concern for Bane. It isn't to say that these items aren't good for Bane, instead making sure that Bane has enough mana to cast his high impact spells will be the highest priority. There's a great number of mana regeneration items, and no particular one is core. Soul Ring, Arcane Boots, and Earth Shadows all provide decent stats and or regeneration, and are relatively cheap to build. As a general rule of thumb, getting raw mana items such as Arcane Boots or Force Staff is preferred over regeneration based ones such as Urn of Shadow, since Bane needs to cast as many spells in succession and won't have much time to regenerate mana in between casts. Depending which role and how much farm Bane has, he'll offer different sets of regeneration items. Mobility items are also important for Bane since both Nightmare and Fiend's Grip have relatively short cast range, and Bane's awkward animation needs all the help he could get. Force Staff and Blink Dagger are 2 of the best mobility items in the game, and though Blink Dagger offers precise initiation at a lower cost, Force Staff's intelligence stats and easy build-up benefits Bane a lot more. As an escape item, Force Staff is also more reliable and thus is usually the preferred mobility item of choice. Drums is also a decent substitute if the other mobility items are too difficult to acquire, and offers better benefit to the rest of the team than the other two. Bane also has a good set of utility and HP based items, though most are situational. Necromonicon 3 is a great counter to a team with several invisible heroes, and could also add a significant amount of damage to Bane's Fiend's Grip. Black King Bar should not be forgotten as an option either, as it's almost a way to guarantee a fully channeled Fiend's Grip, and with the help of Brain Stab and Enfeeble, BKB turns Bane into a tanking machine. Finally, Agamemnon's Scepters give Bane a great deal of HP and mana, while giving Fiend's Grip nearly a 1900 damage potential. A full 7-second channel on Fiend's Grip is almost always an overkill, though the extra health and mana provided makes Agamemnon's Scepter a decent choice in certain situations. Of course, this build is assuming that Bane will be playing the heavy support role and thus won't have too much gold to spend on items. More farming oriented Bane could acquire better mana items as well as build Bane into a tankier hero with more HP based items. The most important thing to keep in mind about Bane's item choice is that they're supposed to help Bane successfully cast all of his spells, and having a bigger mana pool, more mobility, and more HP is generally the best way to reliably do so. Despite Bane's lack of AoE, he could be a commanding presence in teamfights simply by the threat of disabling multiple heroes. Enfeeble and Fiend's Grip are two of the best spells in the game to shut down BKB carries in late game, and in between Brain Sap and Nightmare toggling, Bane could be deceptively tanky despite his frail frame. Bane is a difficult hero to master due to his low mana pool and bad cast animation, but is extremely rewarding since he could help his team to win lopsided teamfights. Keep on slurping them brain juice and have fun playing Bane. As always, I hope you guys found these guys useful and educational. My next guy will be on the Strength Hero Beastmaster. If you want to check out my previous guy on Axe, here's a link to do so, and here's a link to all of the guys I've done so far. That's it for now, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and until next time, this is Luminous signing off. See you guys.